What's up? Welcome in. Hoge and Jahns with you as the off season begins. A big one. And we're jumping in, Johnsy, and welcoming in the Fishman today.
No, you can't call it hello, Kevin. You can't call it the off season. I made this mistake by once going up to John Fox at the airport on the way to the Senior Bowl. I'm like, how are you enjoying your off season? He goes, Adam, the season's still going on. I go, oh, yeah. You didn't make the playoffs. You didn't make a run at the Super Bowl. So he was not happy to talk to me that one time at the bar at O'Hare. So don't call it the off season yet.
Although I feel like John Fox enjoyed some off-season activities during his regular season. So,
yeah.
No,
we don't believe you. All right. Well, if my voice can survive this show, we've been struggling a little bit this week. We'll everything good?
This is your Jordan flu game.
Yeah. Except it feels like it's been like 5 of those in a row now. And it's also weird because I feel completely fine, but we're fighting through. Maybe we're talking a little bit too much Bears. I don't know. Bragg somehow wrapped me into some other show we did last night with Corey Wooten. It was good, but at some point I probably need to stop talking. But that's not going to be for the next hour or so as we break down what's been going on at Hallis Hall or what's not been going on. Quite frankly, we welcome in Kevin Fishbane to the show today. Always good to have Kevin in here. You can follow him on Twitter at KFishbane. Of course, read him in The Athletic. theathletic.com/Hoge Jahns is where you can go to subscribe if you are not already subscribed. And, of course, get all of Johnsy's coverage there as well. I know he's got a new column up this morning, too. We probably need to put a bow on the game from Sunday night. Another loss to the Packers. I wanted to ask you guys, were you both at Hallis Hall yesterday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What did you take away from the vibe there? It seemed cheery to me. And I wasn't there. That's why I'm asking you guys. You guys were the ones there.
I never got the cheery vibe. No.
Okay.
No, I never got that.
No, I think that because it's funny, Hogue, I just got someone tweet that. I mean, because I did do like a story compiling some of the maybe cheery quotes from the locker cleanout, which you tend to get when a team's got optimism. I think what was more reflective of how these guys feel was the locker room in Lambeau on Sunday. I mean, that was guys sitting in their lockers, heads down. That was guys declining to talk to the media. That was frustration, disappointment,
anger.
I think, yeah, that was probably more noteworthy. Locker cleanout I thought yesterday was standard. I just thought it was a little bit worth pointing out how much these guys like each other. Now, that doesn't mean anything in terms of like, are they going to be good next year, all that stuff. But we've all three of us have been around locker cleanout for bad teams, and the vibes aren't necessarily good.
We cover the 2013 locker room cleanout day. So that'd be the end of the 2012 season, where that locker room was just notified of Lovie Smith's firing by Lovie Smith, where we spoke to Devin Hester within minutes of him hearing that news from Lovie himself, and he was in tears, So like, that's always in the back of your mind when you're covering these things. Like, that's the standard for like judging emotions to me. We were there during locker room cleanout where Phil Emery held like an impromptu press conference for 10 seconds and read a lyric from who? Kev, who was the artist? Carrie Newsom?
Newcomer.
Carrie Newcomer.
Yeah.
Newcomer.
Mm-hmm.
Literally like 8 words and then was gone. So we've covered some days at Hallis. So we've covered some interesting locker room cleanout days. This felt like, I guess it depends who you talk to, because I think if you spoke to Mercedes Lewis, who's in his 18th season, like, his vibe was a lot different than DJ Moore's, even though they're just a few locker room stalls apart. Like, I think it depends on which player you were talking to in that moment.
Well, okay. I mean, and obviously I wasn't in either place. I wasn't there on Sunday night either. It just seemed, I don't know. It just seemed like the as I'm trying to relate this back to the game on Sunday so we can all just tie it up. The way they played surprised me. I thought that would be a much closer game. I did pick the Packers to win, but I did not expect it to be like basically from kickoff to the end, clearly the Packers being the better team. And, I go back to us talking to Cole Kmet way back in, what was that, week 11? Where we asked him what's the biggest game left on the schedule, and he said, oh, that Packer game at the end of the year. When they were still in the playoff hunt. I mean, he could have given the politically correct answer, been like, oh, the next one we have on Sunday. And it was like, no, you got to go beat the Packers. And then they just didn't. I thought that would, I don't know. I guess I just thought that would result in a better outcome. And obviously it didn't. So I was just surprised by that. And I guess what's your takeaway of just the yet another loss and what's become, I mean, barely a rivalry, quite frankly.
Go ahead, Kev.
Well, I said this to Johns on our way into the locker room that my record covering Bears-Packers games, the Bears are 3-19.
Which means we're 3-21.
Yeah, you guys are 3-21.
So we're the problem.
2012. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, somebody asked, I think it was Herb Howard asked Matt Eberflus, like, does it get to a point where this is a mental hurdle more than a physical I think if you look at the game, though, it was a team that got out coached. I mean, I just thought Green Bay had a great plan on both sides of the ball. Even Jaquan Brisker said, like, he kind of wondered why they weren't playing more coverage. I took that to you two coaches as tighter coverage from the corners.
Mm-hmm.
Giving like it was just obviously big windows for Jordan Love to throw. I ran this stat. The offense had 48 plays, which is like an incredibly few. Like, it's happened to the Bears 12 times in the last 11 years, and they're 2-10 in those games. And 4 of those 12 times have come with Justin Fields at quarterback. So it's just a sign of the offense. Just it's weird because they only had 6 possessions. It was just a strange game, but I thought Green Bay just had a much better game plan, and obviously their quarterback did a much better job executing their game plan. And the Bears quarterback didn't do it. He was fine, but he had no time, no receivers.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, obviously it seems like most people have moved on to the offseason already and what the hell's going on at Hallis Hall. We saw Jim Harbaugh win the national championship last night. I guess we need to talk about what I would just consider the silence coming out of Hallis Hall right now and what it possibly means. Johns, what do you take away from the fact that we're recording this at 9:06 on Tuesday morning and really nothing has come out of Hallis except for what the players said as they cleaned out their lockers?
It's strange, right? Usually there's some type of schedule out just in terms of when the head coach, president, whomever is meeting with the media, when they're having their season-ending news conference. There's not even that email out yet. We don't know when that is. I think it might be tomorrow, Wednesday. Maybe it's Thursday. Like, my understanding is Friday, everybody's going their separate ways. So it's more than intriguing, and it leaves the door open for like everything, right? Like, are the Bears just waiting for Jim Harbaugh? Is Kevin Warren really going through everything right now with Ryan Poles? Are they watching film of Caleb Williams? Like, what is going on? I do imagine, I do believe that there's a lot of information gathering right now, but what? How is Flus gathering that information? It just seems strange to me that you would allow a head coach to go through a full day of exit interviews with the GM at his side and then fire him a couple of days later. And I would understand it if it's Jim Harbaugh, but at this point, if it's not Jim Harbaugh, bring us in the Hallis Hall for a news conference.
One theory I had, and this is not like sourced or anything, I'm just kind of speculating here because we are underway in speculation season for the next 4 months for everything. I wondered if I wonder if Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles, maybe George McCaskey too, sit down and say, okay, what is our plan at quarterback? And they discuss that plan. And then they bring in Matt Eberflus and they say, this is our plan. what's your vision? How do you see yourself handling this? And then the follow-up to that is, what's your plan at offensive coordinator? How are you going to fix these things? And if what Matt Eberflus says in this meeting does not vibe with what Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren want, maybe then we see some news. I think that maybe this is just an opportunity for everybody to make sure they're on the same page. Because what if Ryan Poles, again, this is total like hypothetical, so it's really responsible reporting journalism here. But what if let's say the Bears say to Matt Eberflus, "Hey, what's your plan, offensive coordinator?" Eberflus is like, "My plan is to keep Luke Getsy," and the Bears say, and his bosses say that's not good enough. Matt Eberflus says, "Well, tough. That's what I think is best." I'm just like I think that I'm guessing like that. That's just a theory that maybe these guys just need some days to make sure they're on the same page, and then they can move forward. And I would expect them to get on the same page, but that's just one theory about why this is going to take a couple of days.
Just in terms of like the timeline of things, like this is different from last year because, correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin Warren wasn't officially like in the building full time yet, right? He didn't start until April.
Well, and not only that, it wasn't even announced until a week later. I think it was January 13th, maybe. We went through the end of season Poles Flus press conference, and then it leaked that weekend. I want to say you guys, The Athletic, reported it. And then the Bears confirmed it shortly after that. And then we had a press conference the following week with Kevin Warren. But at this point, Kevin Warren wasn't even a thing. Like we had no idea that was even coming. What we did know, and I look back and just for listener background here, the Bears told us on Sunday at the last game, or there was an email that went out that there was going to be a locker room cleanout day, and then Tuesday there was going to be a press conference with Poles and Eberflus. So that's a very different. That's different than this year. We know that, and there has been no press conference announced again as of now 9:10 on Tuesday morning. And to me, it's very simple. That means some changes are being at least pondered. Now, this may still end up with everybody coming back, but there's at least discuss because you can't. Everybody out there in the public right now is talking about Jim Harbaugh this morning. Okay, that's an unfair position to put your head coach in, who's under contract right now and currently your head coach. If everybody knows he's coming back, why would you do that? And even if they've already told Flus he's coming back, why would you leave your fan base in this situation? Then there's no point. You would just tell everyone what's going on. So the fact that there has been silence to me makes it very simple. At very minimum, they're having some tough discussions about where this whole thing's headed in the future. I still think most of this is going to end up with them coming back. Maybe Getsy's out. Who knows? But there's otherwise, to me, there's no point in just leaving the silence going on right now.
Well, I think you brought up on our past show, like Kevin Warren putting a stamp on things. This is part of the process of him doing the stamping, isn't it? Yeah. Like this is like we all read that long profile on him, right? By the Chicago Bears, chicagobears.com, right? Like at no point in there was there like he talked to Ryan Poles a little bit, but there wasn't a lot of like football operational stuff going on in that story.
Well, it's almost 9:30, so he might be washing his car right now.
Yeah,
that was in there at
9:30.
I would tell him to wait till the snow is over because with the salt and the stuff. And anyway, he knows he's from the Midwest. But anyway, oh, thanks, Hoge. You maybe
come on, I was gonna get a car wash joke in there somewhere. It's too good.
But this is him, inserting himself into football operations now, right? This is him being with Ryan Poles every step of the way, probably having different conversations with Ryan Poles than he is with Matt Eberflus. It's to me, like the whole thing through this, like the driver of all this, like the change driver, like it has to be like what happens at quarterback. So it's getting that feedback and that exit interviews, is getting feedback from Luke Getsy, Andrew Janocko, it's getting feedback from even defensive coaches. It's asking around the league about Justin Fields like this. That's the monumental decision here, right? Is what happens at quarterback with the first pick. And I think if we've learned something about Kevin Warren, He's going to be methodical. He's going to be patient. He wants every answer, every stone unturned to find the best answer for his team at that position.
Well, and Hogue, you brought up a good point about like this idea that you're kind of leaving Flus dangling a little bit. But I do think it speaks to, again, you guys both hit on this. I mean, I think this is a Kevin Warren effect going on. This is a different type of way to end the season, that however he wants to handle it. But I don't know how much the Bears really care about like the fan. I think to them, like Matty Eberflus is still under contract, as you said, so he's still the head coach. There's no reason they don't have to announce that he still is the head coach because he's here. They just have to figure out when their press conference is going to be. And like I think that there are conversations, like there have to be conversations going on about the future to make sure that they're all, figuring out what they want to do. But I think we've learned over the years that social media, speculating, rumor mills, all that stuff doesn't really phase this team. I think it should more often than it does. But I think that they're just going to try to just insulate themselves and operate as like everything's normal.
Couple other examples from past years that I want to bring up, just so, because it to be honest, this has been different most years. It seems like there's never consistency to how this is handled, and that's fine. Every year's different. 2019, I forget which day of the week it was. I feel like it was the next day. It might have been Monday, right after the game. But they had a press conference, Pace and Nagy, and then they fired Mark Helfrich right after that press conference, after answering questions about who was coming back and who wasn't. They had no answers, and then it came out right after the press conference that Helfrich and a couple other coaches were not coming back. I want to say one of those coaches was Frank Smith, who's now the OC in Miami and might be getting head coaching. No, wrong year?
Wrong year. That's John Fox.
Okay. I thought he stuck around for...
Yeah. No, it was after the 19th season ended. We had our Pace and Nagy sit down, and there were lots of questions about coaching changes. They all said they're still working through it. And then I think we had just sat down at our desks, and Johns elbows me and says, "Guess they just fired Helfrich, Sheaston, and Gilbride."
Yeah, broke the news. Yeah,
yeah. So there was
my first reaction, are you kidding me?
It was like 90 seconds after we were done in the press conference.
Yeah, so maybe they want to get all of that, those ducks in a row before they do a press conference. Completely understand that.
That'd be nice.
Now the following year, I think, is a little bit more similar to this year, which is they basically had a 48-hour deliberation period. There was silence. There was definitely us doing a podcast during the silence, probably having the same conversations we're having right now about what it all meant. And then eventually they said, Ted Phillips, George McCaskey are going to have a press conference. And if I remember right, I guess I could probably go find back the email, but I don't think they announced what was going on until that press conference started. And then they said Ryan Pace, Matt Nagy are returning. And then we talked to Pace and Nagy after that too. Now this was all over Zoom because it was during the pandemic. And that was, of course, the very unfortunate press conference Zoom call with George McCaskey and Ted Phillips.
I think we haven't won enough under the leadership of George McCaskey, and that's what we're working on.
Have we gotten the quarterback situation completely right? No. Have we won enough games? No. Everything else is there.
And then, of course, the year later, they fired everyone. Anyway, so
after drafting a new quarterback.
Yes. After bringing everybody back and then drafting Justin Fields, who may have just played his last game already in a Chicago Bears uniform. This is why all this matters, because the order in which this franchise does things is often bizarre. And I think one of the defenses of those saying, now it wouldn't be a complete clean house, but, start over here, would be, there's a lot of sense in the idea of, even if you're keeping Ryan Poles, you now have your CEO, you have your GM, you could start over at quarterback, then get the new coaching staff in here. Just get this thing in right order finally, instead of everything being backwards where you go quarterback, head coach, GM, CEO. Or I guess quarterback, GM, head coach, CEO. You know what I mean? Like, this is just, I don't know.
It went quarterback, head coach interviews run by Bill Polian, who had 3 finalists, hire GM, 3 finalists, pick one, Matt Eberflus, Kevin Warren.
Yeah. And 3/5 of the hiring committee no longer work at House Hall.
Yeah. True.
Which I feel like doesn't get talked about enough.
So, Hoge, if you want the timeline from the end of the 2020 season, I have found the timeline.
Oh boy, here we go.
On Sunday, January 10th at 11 p.m., we found out that players would be available over Zoom on Monday, and it said postseason media availability for Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy will be announced later in the week. So that was late Sunday night. And then I believe it was late Tuesday night that The Athletic broke the news that the Bears were going to need a new defensive coordinator. And then we started to hear that everybody was coming back. And then Wednesday morning, January 13th, 8 a.m., we get the postseason press conference alert that 10 a.m. we were going to hear from George, Ted, Ryan, and Matt.
That was on Wednesday?
That was Wednesday. It felt longer, didn't it?
Yeah, it felt like a long time.
Like essentially Sunday 11 p.m. to Wednesday 10 a.m. So, but definitely felt longer.
Well, in the sports world, 48 hours, 72 hours is a long time, right? I mean, these games are digested, even from a coach's standpoint. I mean, they're like the last game's put to bed. They're moving on to the next opponent. If you're just going off like the head coaching cycle, like Arthur Blank wasted no time firing Arthur Smith Sunday night.
12:01.
Yes. Yeah.
Black Monday started, and they were like, that's enough.
Boom.
We waited long enough. 1 minute. Goodbye.
Yeah. See ya. You know, I guess that's the NFL. It's just the cycle that we all try to function in. But yeah, it seems like a big bunch of due diligence being done at Alice Hall right now.
Which is fine.
I was gonna say I want to I know I sometimes talk in a mocking tone, but I do think this feels a lot different than what happened 3 years ago. It just feels like this is like they just want to make sure everybody knows what they're doing. They're on the same page. They have the same vision. And if Matt Eberflus was still a head coach, they got to come with a unified presence and know who's coming back and who's not before they talk to us. And that's good. It's just, as I said, normally when a coach comes back, you hear them, but you also have the problem. I think Dennis Allen, for example, spoke yesterday, and there was still some questions in his press conference. Do you think you're going to be back? Like Bill Belichick spoke yesterday, and we all know all the questions there. So you also don't want that. You don't want to have your head coach do the whole media song and dance the day after the season and then decide. So I think this could be a good thing. It's just kind of different, and it leads us to have a podcast here where for the past 15 minutes we've been trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, well, I think the fans are too. So, we'll see what happens. So maybe we'll get some type of announcements by tonight that, or maybe the Athletic will report tonight that Chuck Pagano's leaving the Bears for the Pat McAfee show. Maybe that's.
We didn't have that part of it yet.
Well, come on, you couldn't see into the future.
Not that far.
Hoge.
McAfee getting shouted out by Jimmy Kimmel last night. Did you guys see that?
Shouting out is that was definitely a shout out.
That was I enjoyed it.
You, Aaron Rodgers.
That's right. That was basically what Jimmy Kimmel said, for being honest. Okay. Let's I think the conclusion and all that is that we all believe tough discussions are being had. Probably means that certain people have not been confirmed that they're coming back next season. And I think we probably all agree, unless one of you guys want to jump in and object, that most likely it still means Flus is coming back, but we'll have to see here. What we also had planned on this episode, besides your voicemails, and I know the bleep button got quite a workout in those voicemails after another loss to the Packers. I'm sure we hit the over. I think what was the over-under set on the voicemails? It was like very low.
Oh, it's too low.
23 and a half. I mean, we blew that one out of the water in terms of the voicemails that came in. But we have a bunch of questions that John's solicited on Twitter yesterday. And Johnsy, I guess I'll let you take that over. And we're going to have Fishbane and we'll all chime in on this. But yeah, a bunch of questions here from the listeners.
Do you want to do voicemails first or end the show with the voicemails?
What do you want to do? We could do voicemails here.
Yeah,
People probably want to hear these.
Let's say goodbye to the Packers.
I want to hear
Let's
them.
move on. Okay, hit the voicemail button.
Wait, we're saying goodbye to the Packers? They're gone?
Hello?
Do you know who this is?
Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody!
The Hoge Jahns voicemail. The Hoge Jahns voicemail line.
Believe it or not, George isn't at home. Please leave a message at the beep.
Got any questions or comments about the Bears? Give the guys a call before, after, or even during the game.
Go Bears!
Couple hours to kick off here. I don't have a good feeling about this game because why would I? But you know what? I'm going to cherish watching Justin Fields play what could potentially be his last game as a Chicago Bear. Win or lose, whatever's next for him. I'll always love Justin. Always a Bear now.
Now that Disney's copyright expired, I can welcome on a very special guest to say a few words about the game.
Hey, Hoge Jahns, it's me, Mickey, from Mickey's Playhouse. I'm sitting down on my couch watching with Pluto. I just wanted to say a few words. F*** the Packers. Good luck, Bears, and bear down.
Love you guys.
Shout out to Trenton Gill today for the first time this year. He has pinned a punt within the 10-yard line.
Why the f*** do we choose the Packers game for our defense to regress and our O-line to turn into a wet paper bag? Come on, guys. What the hell?
Really enjoyed seeing Matt LaFleur toss his headset because his guy didn't know the rules of getting out of bounds. For once, we beat them on a technicality for a play. Let's go Bears.
Hey, this is Kevin, first time, long time. This halftime, great way to end the half, but I'm nervous. I'm wearing my Hoge Jahns t-shirt, my Peanut Tillman jersey, intercept, Mr. Love. Tyreek, you're my only hope.
It's halftime now, and I think Jim Harbaugh's not sounding too bad right now. Go Bears.
Anyone remember a couple years back when Eddie Jackson was caught on a live mic saying, don't tackle? The secondary not to tackle? Yeah, well, we just saw him doing it once again. Get him the hell out of Chicago.
Dude, what in the fuck is going on with Eberflus and this whole staff, man? It's like every time there's an important game, they just fold like a house of cards.
Have we all been in a collective delusion about Flus having really turned the defense around and made it something special?
Apparently the only Bear that showed up to play was Carlos Santos. And fire this team into the f***ing sun.
Hoagie Cat, Johnsy Bear. Stevenson is my guy. Lock him up. 10-year contract. That's my jersey next year. Bear f***ing down. Bear down. Bear down. Bear down.
It's January against our arch rival, and Justin Fields has the football. I think this is about as close to a definitive answer as we're going to get. So let's find out what happens.
The Packers, man. We came into this game so full of hope. Green Bay looks better in every aspect. Go Bears, but the Packers.
Fields threw no passes in the third quarter. That's zero. What a f***ing waste of time the third quarter was, guys.
Is it too much to ask that we get a quarterback that's at least 75% of any Packers quarterback? This is embarrassing.
Let's be honest. The highlight of this game has been the commercial promoting the Masters Golf Tournament in 8 weeks.
This is why the Bears lose f***ing football games against the Packers, because field goals don't beat touchdowns. The Packers score touchdowns. The Bears score f***ing field goals.
What the f***, reps? Jesus f***ing Christ. Every f***ing week. F*** you. F*** damn. Go Bears.
Fire everybody into the sun.
Hoge Jahns, Bob Dabrowski calling in from the deepest pit of sadness in the universe. The Bears have lost to the Packers again. Put that on repeat for 10 times in a row. Whatever. Hopefully this is the end of Eberflus. Doesn't feel like it, but it's got to be. I mean, whatever, Sounds like the Bears are just going to be the Bears and draft a quarterback on a lame duck coach, fire Eberflus next year, start again with the second-year quarterback in year 2 in 2025, and here we go again. Anyway, whatever. See you guys later.
Hey Bears fans, B-Man here. That was a really depressing ending to a season that could have ended on a huge high note. That number 1 pick is worth a bunch. Let's keep building around Justin. Bear down!
Oh, man. B-Man planting his flag. He is Team Justin. Maybe he's the one who put those signs outside House Hall yesterday. And then that other guy came and ripped them all away. Which was...
What was that?
I don't know. It was a glimpse into what's that?
Was it a bit?
Like, was maybe that person who ripped him down was the same person who put him there in the first place?
Ooh.
Yeah.
It was just it was interesting driving. I mean, this is a longer story for another day, but like the fan base's feelings about Justin Fields are like, I mean, I don't think any of us have seen anything like this.
In terms of support
just
for
quarterback
that's probably not coming back. It's usually the opposite, I feel like.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I think at this point with Trubisky, most people were out, but then the Bears did bring him back. Now, granted, they didn't have the number 1 pick. If they had the number 1 pick, they probably would have moved on faster. But it's
been fascinating.
Yeah. All right. Well, Johnsy's having some technical difficulties. We'll bring him back in here in a second. But meanwhile, also, I just real quick on the bow on the voicemails. We appreciate everybody calling in. The voicemail segment has been part of the show, like really since the beginning of the podcast, and a lot of the same people have been calling. I don't know how old B-Man is. Like, I feel like he was probably barely alive when the voicemail segment started, or at least couldn't talk yet. So he has grown up before our very eyes. Bob Dabrowski has grown up before our very eyes too. And I don't like hearing Bob sad. So if the Bears could fix that, we would appreciate it.
The Packers, Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers, go Bears.
Yeah. Because a sad Bob is just, it's not a good Bob. But Johns, you good?
Yeah, I think it took a few seasons, but my mic just finally went. It's done. It's done. It didn't have to throw it or anything. It's just
you should have chucked it just for fun. It would have been kind of hilarious video.
On video.
If you just spiked it and said, "Get the hell out of here."
It came disconnected at least 3 times, even though it's connected. But it's toast. It's done. We'll get a new one.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get all that set up. We can still hear you, so we're good. Let's get to some of these questions and that we have set up. Johnsy, you want to set these up?
All right. These are all from X, from Twitter. This is from US Coys, USC Oys. I don't know. Do you think Ryan Poles sees the 2024 draft as his Mahomes opportunity? Seeing as he was heading the college scouting department when they drafted Mahomes in KC, I'd imagine that he has confidence in himself to evaluate a true generational QB. Do you agree?
First of all, on the Twitter handle, I think I surprisingly know this one. Now, I could be completely off base, but I believe the Coys is Come On You Spurs, which is a Tottenham reference, and that's probably U.S. Coys as in like the United States fans of Tottenham. I don't know.
Very good.
I'm guessing. I think. But to answer the question, actually, Kev, I'll let you go first.
Well, I think that you could argue last year was also Ryan Poles looked at every quarterback too. I mean, he watched Bryce Young and CJ Stroud and those guys, and he said he needed to be blown away. He wasn't, and they traded the pick. So I think this is the similar situation where he's going to be looking at every quarterback and deciding if one of these guys can be the answer for the Bears.
What I like about this conversation is that Caleb Williams, has been compared to Mahomes just in terms of what he can do, like with the play after the play, when things are extended and everything breaks down, and just the magician he becomes back there. If anyone would know if that can carry over, it's Ryan Poles, because the Kansas City Chiefs, they were like the only team who believed that Mahomes can carry that over into the NFL. So
Yeah.
if Ryan Poles is confident that Caleb Williams can do the same thing, then it makes 100% sense. Like, it makes complete sense to take him first overall, right?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I appreciate the question, and I do think it's relevant, because I think and there's been some great stories written, since the Chiefs drafted Mahomes, really detailing, well, all the stories written here in Chicago about what the Bears screwed up. There's been some great stories written about what the Chiefs did right throughout that scouting process. And just the fact that Poles was there, how involved he was, whatever, like, he was there. He got to witness it and be in the building to learn those lessons. I think what was most impressive is they took a quarterback, and we're already hearing some of this on Caleb Williams, which I agree with. The stuff that Johnson was just talking about, and how he can, ad lib and make all these plays off schedule. What the Chiefs did with Mahomes was they somehow figured out in all that what Mahomes could do on schedule. And that with all the amazing things he did on the run, left-handed throws, whatever, he could be a pocket quarterback. And to me, that's the big question with Caleb Williams. And that's the area where whatever Poles learned from Mahomes' situation, can he see through all the amazing highlights that's on Caleb Williams' film and really dial into that, which is what Mahomes does so well. He can command an offense. He can run an offense. He can play in the pocket when he needs to. And yes, he can do everything else that was obvious on his Texas Tech film, which makes him special too.
If there's one important difference that I think we have to point out, is that the situations are different, where the Chiefs traded up to number 10 to get Mahomes, right? But that offense was already producing at a high rate. It had Pro Bowlers at receiver, at tight end, on the offensive line. It had an emerging head coach as an offensive coordinator, Matt Nagy. Like, Alex Smith had his career best year when Patrick Mahomes was on the bench as a rookie, right? So that was an amazing situation that the Chiefs had building into for Patrick Mahomes. And Mahomes was the one who took them to the next level when obviously things had kind of plateaued for Alex Smith, specifically in the playoffs. But I don't know if you guys agree with me, like, just in terms of the situations like that the Bears' young quarterbacks have walked into. This is a pretty good one. DJ Moore is here. Cole Kmet is here. You have Braxton Jones. You have Darnell Wright. You have a defense who could be your best friend for a bit. The biggest questions I have is who's calling plays, who's making the decisions, who's helping in the evaluations that actually lead to Caleb Williams or Drake May.
Hey, do you guys want to know who was surrounding Mitch Trubisky for his first start as a Bear?
Let me see if I can. Was one of them Trey McBride?
Kendall Wright was one.
I don't even know. Did I even get that name right?
Trey McBride, I believe, is the Arizona Cardinals tight end. But I think I know.
Who am I thinking of? Who am I thinking
you're
of?
thinking about that guy who had that one big catch in New Orleans.
Yeah, who is that?
Maybe he was Trey McBride without the Y.
I think he was.
There was a Trey McBride, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Kendall Wright was on.
Kendall Wright, yeah.
Tariq
Yeah,
Cohen.
Trey McBride had 3 catches for 92 yards against the Saints that year. So yeah, you had Zach Miller, Deion Sims were your tight ends. Deontay Thompson, Marcus Wheaton, Kendall Wright, Josh Bellamy, Trey McBride were your wide receivers.
Yuck.
Yeah, so just in
offensive line was not. It was Massey, Long, Whitehair, Sitton, Leno. Not terrible.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Group to work behind, but skill positions, lame duck head coach, thrown in week 5 when probably weren't ready.
I think this is everyone's concern, though, right? Like, are they about to do it again? That's why, like, I think the talent is better for the Bears. I really do. I think they're in a great position to upgrade it, even if you do take a quarterback number 1 overall. But who's calling plays? Who's designing the offense? And like, even before that, like, who's your offensive coordinator who's going to help evaluate these quarterbacks coming out?
Well, relating that to how we started this show, I mean, I think that's a big reason why there's silence from Hallis Hall right now, because they got to get this shit lined up.
Yeah.
Like, if the plan, let's say the plan is, let's just hypothetically say the plan is, look, it sucks, but we're done with Justin. Caleb Williams is our guy. How do we make sure we have the right coach? Because you're right. I think from a roster standpoint, the one advantage that if the Bears do draft a rookie quarterback, this is not Bryce Young going into that awful Panthers situation where they literally are trading away his number 1 wide receiver while acquiring him. Like, there's stuff here for Caleb Williams or Drake May to work with, but who's coaching? Like, you got to make sure you get the coaching right, because I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to tell you right now, I will lose my mind if they draft Caleb Williams and they are hiring a new head coach a year from now. If they go down that road again, I swear that is just like, then fire everybody or just get rid of the organization. Because how do you make that mistake again? And if I'm Kevin Warren, that's why these conversations that have been going on right now, hopefully over the last 24, 48 hours, whatever it is, you can't let that happen again. So you have to be absolutely sure if you're bringing this coaching staff back, you get the right offensive coordinator, and you better than you will not be having to hire a new head coach next year.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it, because I think that if this is probably not going to happen on Wednesday or Thursday, right? But let's say Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus are both sitting up there, and Ryan Poles says, we're going to move on from Justin, we're going to draft a quarterback. The first question is, why is Matt Eberflus the right head coach for that quarterback? Like, what has he shown you to prove that he can install an infrastructure that can properly develop the number 1 pick? Because you have to get this right. You have to get it right. And that's and I'm with you. I think everything starts with the quarterback. And I mean, we were talking about this in October when everything seemed like we were going to have massive changes. But like, once you decide what you're doing the quarterback, then you decide who your coach is going to be, because you can't screw that up.
Yeah.
Next question.
Yeah, we should get through these questions or we're going to be here for 5 hours.
All right. This is from Cyber Solo X. Which combo is the better combo? I'll go through these slowly. Number 1, Flus plus Getsy plus Caleb. Only that the new QB must learn new scheme who actually fits the offensive scheme. Flus plus new OC plus Justin Fields. Entire team needs to learn new scheme. Flus plus new OC plus Caleb. Everyone has to learn new scheme on offense. So that's Flus, Getsy, Caleb Williams. That's option 1. Option 2 is Flus, new OC, Justin Fields. Option 3 is Flus, new OC, Caleb Williams.
So there's no Flus, Getsy, new quarterback, and there's no new head coach, new OC, new quarterback in this conversation.
Well, no, because the first option was Flus, Getsy, Caleb.
Yeah,
that'd be new quarterback.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
So I'm gonna here. I'll start. I'm gonna say something a little controversial here, and then I'm gonna actually give you a different answer after I say that. Well, no, I'm just gonna.
Go.
I could see Caleb Williams working with Luke Getsy. That's the controversial thing I'm saying, and the reason for that is so far the tape I've watched of Caleb, he does a lot of the things that I think probably inside those when just the coaches are by themselves and they talk about Justin Fields, probably drive them a little crazy, and how slow and methodical he can be sometimes in his delivery, and especially in the quick game. One of the things that's all over Caleb Williams' film are these just quick 1-2 ball out, like sidearm flicks that are on the money on the run. These horizontal, like think back to the Vikings game and how horizontal the Bears were. Like, I know it drives fans crazy watching that. It drives me crazy too. But part of the reason why it's frustrating to watch is because the Bears don't run it fast enough. Like the ball's not out fast enough to get it to the perimeter, to set up those blocks. And it's putting the blockers, who are already smaller in a lot of these cases than you want them to be, in disadvantage. They're at a disadvantage right away just because the timing of the play developing. So when I watch this Bears offense and I see what Caleb Williams' strengths are, I actually could see Caleb Williams sliding right in with the personnel that's already here, that already knows the offense, and it working okay. Now, that being said, I think there's also a lot of evidence that shows if you're going to bring Caleb Williams in, you just a same thing. You don't want to have to fire Luke Getsy a year from now and have him start all over after his rookie season, even if Flus is around. So it's probably better to start over with the entire thing. But yeah, I guess that's my long answer on that.
The one scenario that I don't even want to cover because I've covered it before is Justin Fields returning with the new offensive coordinator. That is the Jay Cutler story all over again. I'm sorry. It is. I get that Justin Fields has improved slightly in some areas. I get that his teammates love him, but that's the Jay Cutler story. That is 3 offensive coordinators in 4 years for Justin Fields. That's malpractice in itself. That's not helping Justin Fields by any means. There's no continuity. I get that he may have that with some of the players, specifically DJ Moore and Cole Kmet, but that's just not an ideal situation for growth. Just learning new language, learning new everything, just in terms of what an offensive coordinator wants to do. I don't like that path whatsoever.
Yeah, Johns, I'm with you there. I think if you're deciding your Fields as your starting quarterback next year, it's going to be very difficult to keep Luke Getsy from a PR standpoint. But I think it's still probably what's best for the team to keep that playbook and just adjust it and just make changes. I just it's hard for me to picture them up there doing that and announcing that. But Ho, you make some good points about Caleb Williams and that matchup. I do think going back to our earlier conversation about Eberflus with a number 1 draft pick, there is this little out of the OC in terms of like you could argue, yeah, we believe in Eberflus developing the quarterback, but really we're going to get to hand pick the guy who's going to develop the quarterback. We're going to keep Eberflus because of what he's already built here, because of this defense, because of this foundation. And we're not worried about Eberflus working the quarterback because really we're going to engineer this and we're going to pick the guy. And he's going to be the guy that's going to see this through. So, that's why I could see them going in that direction where it's Eberflus, new coordinator, and draft pick and quarterback. By the way, I don't know if I've said this on this show. Just so everybody's clear, I'm going to pick a different quarterback that I believe should be the right quarterback each month. So right now it's Jaden Daniels January.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be a Jaden Daniels guy for January. Okay. And I believe February, it's already scheduled. February is going to be Drake May. March
is going to be Ben Bryant. Ben Bryant.
Well, I haven't gotten April yet.
Oh, okay. Ben Bryant in April.
So March will be Caleb Williams, and then April will be TBD.
Okay. Now, of course, devil's advocate to what you were just saying, though, and it would be a good problem to have. But what you described, where you handpick your OC that's going to lead the new rookie quarterback, if everything goes well, you win 12 games. You're in a situation like the Texans are right now, where Bobby Slowick is being requested by every team to interview for their head coaching job. Doesn't mean he's going to get one or leave, but that's.
I think sorry, go ahead.
Well, I would say the CJ Stroud thing is interesting because, I think he's a perfect example. Is if you pick the right quarterback, he transcends play call and he transcends who's around him, right? You look at that Week 1 Texans lineup in Week 1, paired with Bobby Slowick and D'Amico Ryans. There's no way you pictured that this was a 4,000-yard passer in a team that was going to make the playoffs. That's how good he turned out to be. So, ideally, if you pick the right quarterback, he'll be able to still be great regardless of who his play caller is. And the other thing about DJ Moore, like I get that DJ Moore likes Justin Fields and wants Justin Fields. The whole narrative about DJ Moore was he put up big numbers regardless of who his mediocre quarterback was in Carolina. So like I'm not too worried about DJ Moore putting up big numbers if he's with a new quarterback.
No, he'll do it. I think he just wants stability for once.
What else? I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
All right, this is from B. Schulte. I like this one. Here's the one that has nothing to do with head coach, offensive coordinator, or QB. Which player positively surprised you the most with their performance this season?
I
got one.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. You start.
TJ Edwards was fantastic.
Okay.
Like I thought he'd be good, but not like lead the team in tackles in the Pro Bowl conversation. Have better numbers than Roquan Smith. Good. That was TJ Edwards' season, his first with the Bears.
Yeah, I'm gonna go stick with me here. I'm gonna say Montez Sweat because to me he blew expectations out of the water. I mean, that trade was questioned and rightfully so in the moment. And I think, the hope was that he would give you some help from a pass rush standpoint. But for him to transform the defense the way he did, and really, it's like he jumped into a different stratosphere in terms of how he was viewed as a pass rusher, in my opinion. So I was like, okay, I think this is a decent trade and this will help. But to me, he blew me out of the water with how good he actually was. I mean, he different level, like elite level player that they definitely didn't have anything close to that before he arrived.
I like both those. I thought, there was a moment in late September where I'm thinking, why did they spend this money on Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards? Like, I mean, Edwards was getting tackles the first couple of weeks, but he was not making splash plays. And then he took off. And that was really good to see. I'll give for Hoge, I'll say Cairo Santos to an extent. I mean, to be able to, at this point in your career, suddenly become this guy who can make 50-plus yard field goals consistently and get all those touchbacks. Like, I thought that was crazy impressive what he did. I'll say Kyler Gordon. I mean, we weren't surprised because we saw Kyler in training camp and we saw how good he was then. But remember last year, Kyler Gordon? I mean, that was a big question mark to me coming into this season was, I knew having him be just the nickel was probably going to be good. I don't think it'd be this good. I mean, he made some really, really nice plays for this team. I think you feel good about that position moving forward. So yeah, I would say I'll say Kyler.
An important position in Flus's scheme, and like when you see Kyler Gordon wear like the Spider-Man stuff and do like the Spider-Man celebrations, he strikes me as a player who has fully embraced like the Eberflus way. I mean, that's the nickname Eberflus gave him, Spider-Man, and he's literally wearing like the costume out there. All right,
yeah, in the bus even.
Yeah,
from head to toe, he's got the mask on. He's not taking it off, which is pretty funny.
All right, from Zach of all trades. I think I said that right. From Zach.
Zach of law trades.
Zach of law trades.
Zach of law trades.
Lawyer.
Yeah.
We got a lawyer here. Lawyer Zach. Would there be any sign of a tell in free agency that could show what Poles decides to do with the first pick? For example, if they sign a big name free agent receiver, T. Higgins, for example, would this show they are not drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. and going with Caleb Williams?
Yeah, I think 100% free agency always adjusts draft needs. Without a doubt. I think if I'm trying to think of a good example.
Well,
like last year, if they had signed Mike McGlinchey,
bingo, yep,
who they did look into, and then they just he signed with the Broncos for more money than the Bears were willing to offer. But if that had happened, they're probably not drafting Darnell, right?
I think the first tell will be what the Bears do with Luke Getsy, an offensive coordinator. Like, that's like the first domino of tells, because I think that means Justin Fields is out, and then you go from there. Does that make sense? Then you
Also, the number one pick was traded before free agency last year too, which is another thing. Like that if they're going down that
that's
road,
a tell.
yeah. Or if you're trading for Justin Fields, you probably want that figured out before free agency too. Like Russell Wilson was traded right around free agency. I don't think it had started yet. No. So like that was right before free agency too, a couple years ago. So yeah, if you're making these big moves, you want to know who your quarterback is. So if I had to guess, I'm thinking this gets resolved, between the combine and free agency, just like last year with that big trade with the Panthers.
All right, next question. This is from T. Marsh. Why should I believe that anything this organization does will be the right answer? I got nothing.
They
It's
haven't
been an
given
option.
you-
I don't know that it can be super critical. I think, when you're out there playing
They have given you no reason to believe in them. So
yes,
I get the sentiment.
I kind of like the idea of just playing continuous John Fox sound bites to answer this question.
siesta. And Carlos Santos.
They didn't get Carlos Santos right. They got Cairo Santos right later. But when he was Carlos, it didn't work. So
I'll say this, and you could argue the Bears got lucky the Panthers took Bryce Young and not CJ Stroud. Maybe things would be a lot different if they took CJ Stroud. But when was the last time we could say the Bears won a trade so massively? Like, it could be, if Bryce Young continues to struggle, if DJ Moore and Darnell Wright continue to excel, you could throw Tyreek Stevenson in there. Like, you could talk about one of the most lopsided trades in recent NFL memory, and it was the Bears that pulled it off.
That one, everybody was fired.
yes.
So
And
you could use that as some hope.
And the Montez Sweat trades worked out pretty well too. So, there's a couple examples there where if there's one guy to trust right now, it feels like that might be Ryan Poles. So,
last question. This is a fun one from Gabe. If this Bears season were a fast food restaurant, what restaurant would it be?
Ooh. This Bears season.
I'm going to go with, I haven't had Taco Bell in a while, but how about this? I'll go with White Castle. Feels good in the moment, but later you feel like shit. Does that apply?
See, I was thinking of something that would be the opposite, where it starts really bad, like really bad. Like really, really bad. But then when it, I don't know, once it's all done,
But most fast food tastes good in the moment.
I know. That's why it's maybe. I don't know. That's
I say this without having Taco Bell in White Castle. I haven't had it in years, but
yeah,
younger Adam Johns would occasionally stop in there after a night or two.
I went to McDonald's in Sheboygan drive-through at 11 o'clock Sunday night. I don't know the last time I did McDonald's. Actually, I know the last time I did McDonald's drive-through. It was with you guys on Thanksgiving night on our way home from Detroit, like 3 years ago.
Is that the night that we got Big Macs and they didn't have the Big Mac buns? Or is that just
right.
Pat Finley and I? Yeah.
Yeah. Something.
You can make an argument for McDonald's because every time I go to McDonald's, I don't feel great about it. But then, it tastes good, and by the end of it, I'm like,
all right.
By the end of it, I'm like, okay, that served its purpose. I'm no longer hungry. But also, was that the best idea? So I'm still questioning at the end. I'm still lingering 24, 48 hours later, wondering, am I going down the right road with this? Do I need to make changes? Should I not go back to McDonald's? Should I make a better decision going forward to set myself up for personal success? I think that's the answer.
And you always go back.
Damn it.
Yes, that's our thing. You're right. The standard McDonald's.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just thinking of the Green Bay Packers game too much with my Taco Bell White Castle references, but that's a good one, Adam Hoge.
At
You
least
always go back to McDonald's.
I came up with the right analogy. Well, we got to leave McDonald's behind, I think is the.
I had McDonald's on the way home from Wisconsin too. In the morning though, on the way to Hallis Hall.
Look at you guys.
So what are the chances McDonald's becomes a sponsor of Hoge Jahns after this segment?
Hey, we're open to it.
Probably not.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. That's it for the questions. Got voicemails in. Think we're good to go. Kevin, thanks for jumping on today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Saturday, 11 a.m. Northwestern Wisconsin basketball
in Madison.
Yeah.
You want to go?
No.
Okay.
No.
Fine. Just got rejected. Next time we're doing a podcast, what are we talking about?
My gut tells me a new offensive coordinator and a whole bunch of quarterback conversations.
With very little answers. Okay.
Next time we'll be recapping the Northwestern Wisconsin basketball game.
Probably not.
And also, I'm building up. I will say, I'm building up a list of season-ending fun facts.
Oh boy, are they going to actually be fun?
All three phases. Some will be fun. Some might not be fun, depending on your view of fun.
Okay.
I like fun,
but we'll starting to get to work on that for later in January.
Have you dove into Justin's first 6 games compared to his last 7?
No. No. I will say I did. I was looking at his stats just in the last 7 games, comparing them to the rest of the league, and it doesn't necessarily compare as favorably as some people might be hoping for.
We talked a little bit about this last night on CHGO, but
well,
you'd be
the first
surprised.
6 games include like the 2 of the best games he's had in his entire career.
Yeah.
So that's
the thing.
Yeah.
But all this progress, Anyway, follow us on Twitter at Adam Hoge, at Adam Johns, at K Fishbane. Of course, follow the show at Hoge Jahns. You can get all our merch at hoganjohns.com. Appreciate all the support. And whatever happens this week, we'll probably wait, to do the next episode based on, some news items, some move by the Bears. So we'll stay flexible the rest of the week. Maybe it's Thursday, maybe it's Friday, maybe it's earlier if it needs to be. So just stay tuned. We'll have you covered regardless of what the Bears do. But at this point, we'll probably wait until those moves are made. So make sure you're following us along the way. Let you know what's going on, and we'll talk to you next time.
See ya.